Good evening. Today is Tuesday, March 11th, and I'm here to review the alerts given out through Stockwits Academy today. So I'll be reviewing them in the order they were alerted today. So I'll review them on the 5-minute chart, and over here is the list of the alerts that were given and the times, and right here is my color coding of my moving averages and also the levels that I chart out. So I chart out yesterday's high and low, the 60-minute opening range high and low, and pre-market high and low. Okay, so let's get started. The first alert that was alerted was, here, let me just bring this up, AVGO. So we'll just have a look at the chart and we'll just see what there was for setups and entry points on AVGO. Again, I always look at the 5-minute chart to look to see if there's a setup, and then I usually use like the 1 or 2 minute to enter. So on AVGO, right at 7:30, we had a call given out, and we won't worry about the strike price. So at 7:30, which would have been right around here, it was alerted a call for AVGO. Now, when you look at this chart, it looks like it's setting up not too bad. MACD is in an uptrend. Some of your moving averages, most of your moving averages are in an uptrend. This 113 SMA is a little bit flat, but for the most part, it was looking okay. If you wanted to get in at that point, you could have and caught an upside on that right there on that trade. But like Mike usually says, wait for a setup. You could have waited for the pullback because usually there is going to be a pullback, and which did occur here, and then you could have caught an upside here to it. Also later in the day, there was another upside to it as well. When it pulled back here, it reversed at the 113 EMA and then went up again. So this chart, AVGO, had a few opportunities today for calls and also even had an opportunity for the put side today as well. It rejected here off yesterday's high and went back down to the 113 EMA. So there was an opportunity for a put and a call. But through here, it was pretty choppy. So usually when you see lots of ups and downs and wicks, it's better to stay out. You're looking more for a trend like this or like this. So that was AVGO today. Next we had MU. MU was alerted at 7:31 and it was a call. So we'll look at the chart at 7:31. Again, it's not really setting up very nice. Everything's kind of choppy. We don't have nice uptrends with your moving averages or your MACD. So it's kind of risky to get in there and then in at this point. If you're waiting for price to cross above VWAP, which it did, this is the VWAP is the purple line here, but you had a big rejection at the opening range, the 30-minute opening range, which is right here. And then, of course, it rejected down. So this wasn't a good setup at that time for a call. Obviously, your ideal setup for a call would have been right at this point here today, and it rejected back down to, this is the 30-minute opening range low. It's 30 or 60-minute, depending on, usually I mark the 60-minute, which is probably, right here. So this is the 60-minute opening range low, and that's where it rejected, and then you would have caught a nice upside right there. Otherwise, it was choppy. It was trying to go above VWAP, touched on VWAP, crossed over again, touched pre-market high here. And I had mentioned this the other day that sometimes with these rejections, it sometimes takes the third time to go up and over, or the fourth. So you can see here it rejected and then it went 1, 2, and then third time it went over. It went up, like crossed pre-market and kept going, and it even crossed opening range high and crossed over as well. So that would have been a nice trade right there. So that was MU for the day. Next we had Reddit, RDDT, and that was called out at 7:31, and that was a call. So let's look at Reddit at 7:31. So that would have been right around here. So if you were looking at this chart at that time, it was trying to set up. Everything was going in an uptrend, but again, Usually you're going to get a reversal around 8 or 8:30 because it's going to set the opening range high, which is what happened here. So if you got in here, it would have just been a short trade. It wasn't as choppy as the other ones that we just looked at. It was a little more stable. Price trying to get over VWAP, and but obviously rejected at 8 o'clock and set the opening range high, and then it rejected down. So if you watch this chart for the day, you can see that it was just kind of range bound up and down, and then of course here is where it reversed on the 113 EMA, and then you could have caught a nice upside there. But for the most part, it was pretty choppy. It was hard, would have been hard to try and trade this chart today. Next we had NVIDIA at 732. So let's look at NVIDIA. And this one's choppy as well. I have a feeling most of these charts are going to be like this today because the market was very choppy today. So if you look at NVIDIA at 732, again, it's trying to set up, but really choppy when you have these long candles, then you've got long wicks. It's risky to get in at that point. Again, you had your rejection at your 8 o'clock opening range. And again, I usually mention my time is in Mountain Standard Time. So I'm 2 hours ahead of Eastern Time. So when the market opens at 9:30 Eastern Time, mine's at 7:30. So these times are all Mountain Standard Time. So then there was a big rejection there, dropped down to this red line is yesterday's low, and the blue line is pre-market low, and that's where it reversed. So if you would have waited for a reversal, this is where you could have caught a nice upside trade on NVIDIA today. And then again, obviously, right through here, everything seemed to have a nice reversal right around this time today, and then caught a nice upside there. So that would have been your ideal entry spot on NVIDIA today. Next we had ET. ET was called out, alerted at 7:35, and it was a call as well. ET Energy Transfer. Okay, so it's 7:35. So this chart was really, really climbing fast when that alert was given. So when you looked at this chart at that time, obviously look at all your moving averages are all in a nice uptrend. MACD is in a nice uptrend. So this, you could have got in on this trade at this point and rode it up and, for as long as you wanted here. And then obviously it rejected down. It wouldn't have been worth it to hold at all because you're going to lose a lot here on this drop. And even though it went back up, it didn't quite get where it was before. And then obviously it went right down. So that would have been could have turned out to be a good trade if you entered right at the alert at 7:35, and you would have caught some nice green candles through there. These again are the 5-minute, but if you were watching the 3 or 2, there was probably quite a few green candles in a row. So that could have worked out for you if you would have gotten in right on the alert. Oh, and that's actually a swing. So it says March 21st. So that trade, yeah, if you got in and you're holding till next week or whenever, you certainly could have. If I would have got in and just caught this upside here, I would get out right away because in this market, it's best to just take your profits when you can. And if I caught that much upside right off the bat, I would have gotten out. But I didn't trade ET today. Next, we had Root. Root was also given at 7:35. Oh, and that's a March 21st one as well. I'm not going to cover the swings, but March 21st, it's kind of a swing, but not really. It's just buying next week's expiry. So it just gives you a little more breathing room for movement. So again, Root, this one looks exactly like ET did at the start. So a nice big swing to the upside. If you got in at 7:35 or even 7:40, you still caught some upside to it. This is the 7:35 candle. So you would have got in around there. You still would have caught some nice upside to that trade as well. And then, of course, it rejected and went back down. And then it was pretty choppy after that. So that was Root. Next, we had MRVL. MRVL. that was a call at 7:39. So let's look. Oh, and these are all looking the same. So it's 7:39. Again, it's trying to look like it's setting up nice for the day, but this one, there still was a bit of upside left, but again, rejected here. This is yesterday's high, the green line. It rejected there and went down. So this one you could have flipped to the put side, especially once it fell under VWAP and caught some downside to it. Again, it reversed here, went back up, and then down, and then of course there was a nice upside. And these are all around the same time the market switched over and then went up nicely. So you could have caught a nice trade here on MRVL at the start. I mean, there was a few opportunities, and here as well. So that was MRVL. Next we had CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike was called out at 7:39, and it was a call. So let's look at the chart here. 7:39 is the 7:35. So within this time frame. And again, if you got in right on the alert because everything was looking nice, all your moving averages are going up, your MACD is going up in an uptrend. So it was looking okay, but again, it's going to reverse. And I don't usually mention RSI, but you can see here that RSI is topped out. That's what's down here. I don't watch RSI a lot. I just look for levels. And so you can see here it rejected, but it didn't really drop like the others. It hung on to VWAP. VWAP is the purple line. And also the dark green line is the 9 EMA. So sometimes if it doesn't reverse hard, then you can just ride the 9 EMA or VWAP, which is what you could have done here. So even if you'd have got in here, you could have rode those and caught more upside to it. So some days, like on a trend day, you can ride the 9 EMA all day. But here you can see once it breaks below, and then it gets a little bit choppy. It's kind of right on the 9 EMA. And then here it even touches down to VWAP and then reverses and goes back up. So this was a trade that you could have held all day, but you would have lost a bit here, especially with time decay. And so, your ideal point would have been, if you got in around the alert and got out up here, but it's up to you if you want to hold through all that and then still catch more upside to it. So that was CrowdStrike. Next, we had OKLO. OKLO was called out at 7:41. It was alerted at 7:41 and it was a call. So let's look at 7:41, which is right around here. So this chart really got choppy through here. So this wouldn't have been an ideal entry point at all. Just those long wicks, big candles. It's just not setting up nicely for a trade. So you'd get chopped out. So the best bet was just to sit and watch this and play out. And here it went down and then reversed down here and then went back up. But again, it was choppy even just to try and catch some upside there, which, obviously you could have. And then ideally up here is where you could have taken a put on that trade. And then the reversal, which happened all around the same time again, and then caught some upside there. So there was a few opportunities on OKLO today. Next, we had PANW, Palo Alto, and that was alerted at 7:44. So PANW, and that was a call. Okay, so PANW, which was, just a minute. Okay, so PANW called out at 7:44. So again, really choppy through here, not really setting up nicely. And then obviously you got your pullback here. You could have entered here and caught some upside on this trade and also as well here. So this was your ideal setup. It pulled back to the 113 EMA here, reversed, and then caught some nice upside. So that would have been your ideal point. Here was just really choppy. You could have got in, waited for the pullback here again to the 113 EMA, and then caught some upside. Obviously here was your perfect setup on PANW today. Next we had Walmart at 7:47. Okay, so your alert was given today at 7:47, which was right around here. So again, this chart, everything was trying to move to the upside, but this is your 113 SMA, and it's in a downtrend. So everything, it wasn't a perfect setup. A perfect setup is when all your moving averages are moving up and your MACD is moving up, and that's kind of a perfect setup. That didn't happen here. You had a downtrend here, so it was going to be choppy. It pulled back, which it did pull back here to VWAP. So if you waited, you could have got in here on the pullback to VWAP, but again, it was choppy up and down, but you did eventually catch some upside. And then here, when it reversed, you actually could have got in on the downside and got in on a call. And this was looking good for a call at this point, because you can see MACD is in a downtrend. Moving averages are all in a downtrend, and especially once price crossed below VWAP. So that was a nice opportunity for a put on the downside for Walmart today. Next, we had ASTS. ASTS was alerted at 7:50, and it was a call. So let's just look at the chart. That's right around here. So of course, this wasn't set up at this point. You can see the moving averages started to move in a downtrend. Price dropped below VWAP. So if you wanted to wait for the reversal, it happened down here. This is the opening range low, the dark pink line. So it reversed right around here, and then you could have caught some upside here, but it was really choppy. Your long candles and choppiness, but it would have worked out. And then obviously here, when it reversed, this light gray line is yesterday's close. So it reversed on yesterday's close, went down. You could have caught the downside. Then obviously here was the reversal, and you would have had a nice upside on this trade. So this trade could have worked both ways, and it eventually did set up nicely for a call, and the setup was right there, right at this time, during that time frame. So that was ASTS. Next, we had CRM. CRM was called out at 7:52, alerted, and it was a call. So let's look at 7:52, which is right around here. So you can see already it's starting to trade sideways. So again, you're going to wait for the pullback, which it did pull back here. It fell below VWAP, even because this purple line is VWAP, but it fell down to your, this is your 20 SMA, so your simple moving average 20, and it stayed right along that line, and then that's where then you just caught some upside. So usually I wait until the 8 SMA, which is this light pink line, crosses over the 20, and that's a good indication as well of an upside trade. So then it started to go up, and that's where you could have got an upside on that trade. Obviously here it reversed. You could have caught the downside, so this would have been set up both ways today, and then obviously here reversed on the 113 SMA and then caught the upside. So that trade did set up a couple times for trading. You could have caught a put on it as well as a call, and this one wasn't, you had some up and down, which gave you the opportunities, and there wasn't a lot of chop in between. So this would have set up nice for going both ways. So that was CRM. Next we had Snow. Snow was alerted at 9:01, and it was a call. So at 9:01, which is right around here, and again 9:01, which is my time. So this is where it just started to move up. But again, with the long wick like that, it's going to be choppy. Price was trying to get above VWAP, which it did, but it rejected on yesterday's high. So this green line is yesterday's high. So it wasn't really setting up for a call at that time for an entry point. Then obviously it dropped down, and then it reversed right around the time of the whole market reversed, which is around 11:30. And then this is where, and it bounced off the 113 SMA. So this is where you would have got your entry, and you would have got a nice upside to it there. And then obviously you could have even caught a put there, but this is where it set up for an entry point for the day, and then went up from there. So that was Snow. And today it seemed like a lot of the stocks reversed right around this 113 SMA on the 5-minute. Next, we had MDB. MDB was alerted at 9:05, and it was a call. So let's look at the chart at 9:05, which would have been right around here. So when you looked at this chart at that time, it was setting up nicely. Like all your moving averages were in an uptrend. MACD was not in a strong uptrend, but it still was. But it was kind of losing steam. Like you've already missed all of this upside. Excuse me. So looking at this wouldn't have been a good entry point. Price is trying to get above the 200 moving average here, which is this light orange line. So you can see it kind of crossed up and down. It did stay above VWAP, so that was good. And then, but then it dropped below here. So once it fell below, and then it bounced off, almost got to the 113 SMA moving average EMA, and then it reversed. And then this is where your nice trade came in for the day on MDB. So there was your setup right there, just like many of the other trades today. Next was DDOG, which is Datadog, I believe. Okay, so that alert was given at 9:06, and it was a call. Okay, so 59. So just looking at this chart at this time, you would definitely not be trying to get in at this point with all that chop and all those long candles and wicks. You're better to just wait and watch. And so this chart, add it to your watch list, keep checking it, maybe set, an alert for price drops below VWAP, and then which happened right here. So you could have got in for some downside on it, but obviously the reversal was here, which was the 30-minute opening range low, and the price reversed there, and then you would have caught some nice upside there. It even pushed through VWAP, through all these moving averages. That would have been a great trade on the day on DDOG. Next, we had SPY. SPY was alerted at 9:09, and it was a call, but this was a 0 DTE, which was alerted as extreme risk. So let's just look what happened at 9:09 for a call, which was right. Oh, we're right down. Oh, okay. So we're trying to catch this reversal here. So it had just bounced off the, this is the opening range low, and you can see that it's trying to flip, which was what we were trying to catch here. So it did start to move up, but then it was rejecting off of this. This is the 50 simple moving average right here. So you can see it's rejecting off, and it finally pushed up over. So if you'd have got in there, you could have caught some upside to that trade. It was a little bit choppy here, but then it did eventually go up, and then it rejected. This is the pre-market low. So you had to be aware of that, watch for rejection, which it did, and then obviously went the opposite way. On SPY, obviously the ideal trade today was getting in right around here, and you would have caught a lot of upside to that trade. So that was SPY. Next, we had ADSK. So let's look at ADSK. It was alerted at 9:14, and it was a call. So let's look at the chart at 9:14. It's probably right around here. So this wasn't really setting up nicely. Like all your moving averages are not in an uptrend. You've got some in a downtrend, and it's choppy. So this was definitely an alert where you'd want to sit back and wait for a setup. Obviously, you got your setup here where it came down, rejected, and then started to go back up. And if you're waiting for confirmation, you can always wait for it to cross over VWAP, which it did. It came back down here, but then it completely cleared VWAP, which is the purple line, and it started to go up. And like I said before, if you wait for the 8 simple moving average to cross over the 20, which is the dark pink, so the light pink crosses over the dark pink, which is the 20, on the 5-minute, usually I watch for that as a good indication of confirmation, and then of an upside, and then it continued up there. So that was a nice trade there on ADSK today. Next, we had HPE. So most of these alerts today, almost all of them had a setup, but you just had to wait for it and be patient. HP at 9:45. Let's just look at that one here, which is right around here. So on this one, again, it was alerted. If you were looking at this, it was setting up okay. Some of your moving averages were still not quite in the uptrend, but it was trying to get there. MACD was in an uptrend, so you had a pullback here to the 113 EMA and then some upside right there. So you could have gotten in on this trade on the pullback and caught some upside there as well. There was a few opportunities on this side as well through here. So there was a bit of opportunity on HPE today. Next we had SBUX. That was called out, alerted at 12:20. Again, my time, which would be 2:20 Eastern time. So this was a call at 12:20. So let's just see. So that's obviously on this reversal, which is right here. So at this point, even if you got in here, you would have just had to hold through this pullback, or if you waited, there was a pullback here. This is yesterday's low, and it reversed there and then continued up. So there was room on SBUX today for a little bit of upside and a nice little trade on SBUX. Next, we had MSTR. MSTR 12:21, and it was a call. So let's look at this one, 12:21, which was right around here. Okay, so it's trying to cross above the pre-market high. And so you can see here that it rode pre-market high a little bit, and then it did continue up. So you could have caught a nice trade on MSTR today after, right when it was alerted even, if you got in and then rode it up. And it stayed, you can see here that it stayed above the 9 EMA, which is the dark green line. And so sometimes when you get in a trade, that's how you can gauge to stay in it, is if it just stays above or even touches on the 9 EMA but stays above, and then you can stay in that trade until it crosses back down below. So that was MSTR today. Next was CSCO, but this is a March 21st expiry, so let's just see what this trade did. 12:22 CSCO, which would have been right around here. So there was a pullback here and then back up to this point and rejected and then went downwards. So this wasn't really setting up for a call, but it just depends. It's a next week expiry, so it's almost like a swing trade. I don't know if you would have gotten in or not, but there wasn't much upside today to that trade. Next we had KKR, same thing. It's next week expiry, so I don't usually review the swings, but we'll just look at it anyways. It was at 12:27, which would have been right around here. So this one you could have caught some upside. So right here it was trying to cross over yesterday's high. The green line is yesterday's high. And you can see here it rejected, and then it kind of tried to get up again, and then finally got up and over. So it did finally push through yesterday's high. It pushed through the opening range high, and so you could have caught some upside to this trade when it was alerted at 12:27, or get in and hold till next week. It's up to you. Next we had SPY. SPY was alerted at 104. It's not a 0 DTE, so let's just look at 104, which would have been right on this candle. So if you got in right away, you would have caught some upside, because obviously it did go up to pre-market high, but then it dropped back down. So it was high risk, but it wasn't a 0 DTE, so you could have caught some upside or just waited for a better setup on SPY. And then obviously it dropped off. And that's it. So those are the alerts that were given out today. Like I said, most of those did have a nice setup for a trade today on just about every alert. Just a couple of the ones towards the end of the day never really set up. But if you were watching them, you can see where they were rejecting, where they turned around. SPY, the same thing. If you look at reversed around here, This is all between the 11:30 time, and then a nice upside. That would have been a great trade on SPY today, which it was alerted earlier at 9:09. So most of those, like I said, they worked out, but you just had to be patient and wait for the setup. And the setup is usually you look for your areas of rejection and your moving averages, which direction they're going, and you can usually catch a good setup on most of the alerts that are called out. So anyways, that's it for the night, and hope you all enjoyed it and hope you had a good day today in the market. Good night.